Hello, this is Valerie Moore from the Ferdarian Gazette. Nothing more than clear skies and a clear road ahead to home. But given the reality that you're most likely stuck in traffic right now, why don't you join us for a reenactment of the controversial book, Say I Slew Them Not, written by Kingsley Montivelo, edited by Alexander Phillips, and narrated by Pepper Holloway. Content warnings for this episode include references to self-harm, suicidal thoughts, torture, and war. This program has been sponsored by Harold's Horn Wax, a way to get that $100 shine without having to grind. We now pass the mic to Pepper Holloway, who will be reading Episode 1, Kingsley Montivelo, former president of Heva, charged with war crimes. Alexander Phillips's unsent letter to their wife, Christine Phillips, November 30th, 1874. My dearest Christine, Alistair's clock tower strikes 3 in the morning, breaking the steady patter of a chilly winter rainstorm, and I just finished editing the first chapter of an accused war criminal's memoir. It sounds like an inappropriate joke, doesn't it? A part of me wants to laugh as I sit in the armchair in front of my lone window, a cigarette I swore not to tell you about in hand. The cold darkness of the hours too early to matter presses against the paned glass. The handful of automobiles whose owners were brave enough to park in this all but abandoned neighborhood stand single file on the edges of the road, lifeless things that grow uglier with each new model.
Kingsley's chapter mocks me. Why did I think this was a good idea? Why didn't Quentin throw me out of his office when I
pitched the fucking idea to him? He could have sent anyone else to cover the trial and interview Kingsley, but he sent me because I asked. Last time we were face to face, Kingsley forced me to be his mouthpiece. Now I willingly volunteer. What am I doing here, Christine? What else could I do? Sit at home with you and the abyss personified that moved in with us when... If I send Kingsley's chapter and my article on the trial's preparation first thing tomorrow morning, Quentin will be able to publish them both on December 11th, the same day as the opening statement of Kingsley's trial. Quentin plans to publish our columns side by side because not even the Ferdarian Gazette is above amplifying a war criminal's narrative if it will sell papers. If that isn't enough, he wants me to find someone to read Kingsley's chapters on our local station in Berkassa. Kingsley's chapters in the morning, as the trial is in session, and then my recap in the evening, since the International Court forbade a live broadcast. Quentin's betting bid money that people will be devoted to our coverage because we'll be the only station that provides both Kingsley's side and the perspective of a local resistance hero's partner. He probably would have asked you if it hadn't been for... No, I'm being too harsh. It makes sense, after all. We can't survive as a paper without money, and what's the difference between publishing Kingsley's bullshit and sharing it via the radio? Besides, it's not the first time Quentin amplified the voice of an Icatel terrorist. Fuck, it's not the first time we amplified Kingsley's voice. God, I miss you. I'm sorry I'm not there. I can't. I need you to know. I feel out of control. Did Sam tell you where I'm staying? The Rouge Pheasant. I didn't recognize the name when Quentin made the reservations, but the lobby... It's the exact same as when General Banks used it as his headquarters, except the bizarre bronze statue of the dancing woman is gone, replaced by a mosaic wall of a cherry blossom tree. The room they crammed us war correspondents into is now a coat check. I can't believe they used to fit 10 of us with our typewriters in that fancy mouse hole. I can't believe I'm still using Archie. That battered old typewriter will outlive us all. The new owners of the hotel are Icatel, and they hang pictures of Icatel rebels in the hallways. Several white spaces suggest they used to hang Kingsley's picture. One of them nervously asked me if I thought his trial would last long. After everything, they still think of him as a hero. Despite their best efforts, the hotel is a sad, dingy affair, but so are the surrounding 5 blocks, gutted during the war. What had once been the heart of Berkassa is now an internal line item on the city budget, as Hevian officials transplant Berkassa's heart further north. With Kilbrada gaining its independence and the Autochthone and Sundaran republics thriving, the best have left for greener lands. And there is no one left to speak for Heva's unwanted and destitute. Or maybe the war killed them all. The survivors too few. Ever too few. My room is mostly unremarkable, except for the tragic deer head that hangs across from my bed. He is an old creature, and was most likely bought by the original owners. His fur dull and dusty, bare spots here and there. His horns are still magnificent, though, his branches reaching 3 tiers. For no particular reason at all, except that it seems to suit him, I've named him Dolores. So far he's provided barely adequate company, but I grow fonder of him with each passing day. I don't know why Quentin reserved me a room here instead of at Metropolitan Center, where all the other reporters and lawyers are staying. Too many memories here to ever feel comfortable, but it's familiar. And shouldn't it end here? When we took the city, we settled here. When I found you. Do you despise me? Or am I too absent to hate? Max Widmark, him, Mustafa's Minotaur friend from the war, met me at the train station. He's organizing Kingsley's trial, and his usual powerful and pristine physique is an unstable shamble of its former self. It's obvious he hasn't slept or eaten in months, ink stains along the edges of his cuffs, his shirt in desperate need of a good starching, and his horns haven't been filed in weeks. He asked me if I was followed. He was convinced demons, or quote-unquote worse, were tailing us. On the way to Kingsley, Max warned me that several members of the prosecution had already received death threats and that Berkassa was expecting an influx of demons and troublemaking at hotel. Max was increasing security, and the Cross-Knit Church had offered to send a squadron of their unholy assassins. Just in case. Max looked at me pointedly, as if I had heard from him, and that's why I'm here. Even though I should have expected the question, it felt like an icicle to the heart, and resin's mark cut through my palm once more. I'm wearing the wool, fingerless gloves Sarah made for me to hide the shorthand that only demons can decipher. Not that many people outside the family know to look. As I prepared to leave, Sam asked me if that's why I wanted to interview Kingsley. A called it an ill-conceived attempt to quote-unquote undo a non-existent mistake. But who are A to judge? A weren't kept as a favorite pet while their loved one was tortured only 3 floors below. I can't deny the thought crossed my mind. It'd be stupid for it not to. Resin always intervened on his allies' behalf whenever he could. When he was alive, anyway. Which he's not. Resin is dead, and 100 demons claiming otherwise won't change that. He died during the war, and Kingsley will follow him shortly. Match changed topics after my 5th denial about knowing anything demonic. He told me I should share my interview transcripts with the prosecution, that they will be the smoking gun needed to ensure a guilty verdict. I asked why a smoking gun was needed at all, and he said there were already talks about sweeping this trial under the rug with a light sentence. People are terrified, he shrugged. They keep Kingsley in a 2-story house on the outskirts of Berkassa. He's guarded by 6 Hevian soldiers and their captain. I assume the size of his garden is meant to impress, even though it's filled with plants that require little effort. It is a collection of lilacs. Their heavy honeyed odor made me dizzy as I walked to his front door. A cherry tree and white tulips. Resin's flower. I wonder if Kingsley planted the tulips before or after he heard about the supposed influx of demons. I wasn't expecting the masterful entrance Kingsley prepared for me. He staggered in from his study, hunched over with curled hands, apparently to make me believe he has arthritis. The electric light highlighted the white fur on his drooping cow-like ears. I assume he dulled his scales and blunted the tips of his horns in preparation for my arrival. He may have even added additional chips, especially along the ridge of his snout. He insisted on pouring me tea. But as he poured, he missed my cup by an inch, hot water spilling over the recently stained chestnut tabletop. He blamed his cloudy good eye. The scar that runs across his other eye takes up most of his face. Is he going blind, or does he want me to believe he's going blind? He knew me. Of course he knew me. Not just of me. Not just as a reporter or someone interested in his story. He knew me. I didn't think beings like Kingsley or Resin remembered anything about the lives they ruined, but he remembered me instantly as Resin's pet, the chief of staff's son, his hostage for a brief period of time, one of his many unwilling voices to the wider world. He seemed amused that I had returned to him after all this time, that I am once more offering my services as a writer and journalist to share his tale. He also remembered Mom. They first met at his swearing-in ceremony as governor, and apparently I had been there as well. I must have only been 5, Mom already taking me everywhere at that point. He claimed I was a well-behaved child during the entire interview. I don't remember this at all, and he probably made it up to rattle me further. I considered asking Mom, but she's already angry enough at me for covering the trial. I don't need to give her an excuse to travel to Bercassa, stab Kingsley, and then drag me home. Isn't it horrifying that our entire lives have been shaped by bastards like Kingsley, one way or another? I'm sorry, Christine. You don't want to read about that bastard. I sometimes forget. We're told the war is over, but we're still trapped in its all-consuming grasp. I hear you calling out in your sleep, and I know we're trapped in the same prison, but locked in different cells. I miss you. I hope Sam is treating you well. Please thank A for me. I'm not trapping myself in the past because it's easier, no matter what A says. You're not something I quote-unquote deal with, like a badly behaved dog or an unwanted chore. A told me not to go, but I couldn't stay, not after what I did to you. Why am I only capable of destroying things? Why do I always survive unscathed while you are unforgivably harmed? What do your voices say, Christine? How can you possibly love me? I'm sorry, Christine. I'm exhausted and I'm not making sense. I should go to sleep. I love you now and forever, Alex. You've just heard Kingsley Montivelo, former president of Heva, charged with war crimes from Say I Slew Them Not by Kingsley Montivelo. Tonight's episode was read by Pepper Holloway and was sponsored by Harold's Horn Wax, the wax to use when you want to shine away the blues. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Ferdarian Gazette. And go to our website, www.theferdariangazette.com. That's www.FERDARIAN Gazette.com for episode extras. Join us next Wednesday at 5 p.m. for episode 2, opening statements read at Kingsley Montivelo's trial.